The stroke panel enables us to control and define the attributes of path strokes. You can find the stroke panel in the panel bar. If it is not there, go to Window, Stroke to open it. You will also want to expand the stroke panel options by clicking on the icon at the top right of the panel and selecting Show Options. I have a number of objects on my screen. Let's select one and start looking at what we can do with the stroke panel. The first thing I can do is determine the width of the stroke line. I can select a predefined value from the drop-down, or I can click on the arrows to nudge the width up and down. The width also supports decimals, so I could type in 10.5 and then hit Enter. For paths that have corner points in them, I can choose whether I want these to be a mitre joint, a round joint, or a bevel joint. The paths with open ends, I can choose how I want the end point to appear. Either a butt cap, a round cap, or a projecting cap, which takes the line just past the end point. For closed paths, I can also determine the stroke alignment. Let me just select my rectangle and give it a wide stroke so we can see the example. You can see by default the stroke line falls equally to either side of the blue guideline. I can change that to align it to either the inside or the outside. Let's just decrease the width of the stroke on this rectangle. By default, path lines are solid and continuous. I can, however, create dashed lines. With my path selected, I'm going to tick the dashed line box. I can choose to preserve the exact dash and gaps, which will likely produce uneven corners, or I can choose to align the dash and gaps with the corners, which give me perfectly equal corner points. To change the length of dashes and gaps, I can specify exact units. So let's type in 2 points for the dashes and 4 points for the gaps. I could also enter different values in these boxes to give me an uneven dashed line. Using the stroke panel, I can also add arrowheads to either end of an open path. With the path selected, I can choose a preset arrowhead for each end of the path. I can switch which arrowhead appears on which end by using this button here. I can scale the size of each arrowhead independently, or I can click this button here to link the scale. Using the Align buttons, I can define whether the arrowhead tip is placed at the end of the path or whether it extends beyond the end point. The final part of the stroke dialog box gives us the ability to assign profiles to paths. A profile changes the width and appearance at different points along a path, and there is a number of preset profiles for you to choose from. I'm just going to increase the width of this path so we can see the effect a bit more easily. So with my path still selected, I'm going to select one of the profiles. You can see the stroke of the path changes shape and appears more dynamic. If you choose a non-symmetrical profile, you can use the switcher button to change the direction of the profile. Now all the options we've been looking at in the stroke panel are also available from the control panel. I have drop-downs for the stroke width and profiles, and the other settings are available if I click on the stroke link. Whether you use the control panel or the stroke panel is just personal preference. Generally speaking, if you want to just quickly change a one-off stroke width, it's easier just to nip your mouse up to the control panel. But if you are doing a lot of stroke changes, then it is easier to have the stroke panel floating above the area of the document you are working on.